icing on top Becky's cakes, and today we are doing the sculpted cake in the figure of Vanellope Von Sweets from Wreck-It Ralph, which was a very fun one to do. But this, if you follow this tutorial, it'll basically show you how to carve and sculpt any kind of cake for a figure or character that you might want. Even work for like if you're doing minions or any little fun character that has legs or arms or stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun. If you stay tuned to the end of the video, I have some bloopers, which is my cutting skills or lack thereof. I might be a cake artist, but obviously not great at cutting, but the kids really got a kick out of it, and it provided free entertainment for the party. Thankfully it was my kids' party, so otherwise I would have felt pretty bad about my cutting skills at someone else's party. But yeah, so we had a little cake catastrophe at the cutting part at the end, and I decided I should add that for your humor anyway at the end. Yeah, please enjoy this video. Here we go.
Here's the cake structure that we built in our last video, building the PVC pipe cake structure for a figure or character cake. Then I covered each of the boards with tin foil, and also the flanges at the very bottom I covered with tin foil. I'm getting on some gloves, and I am going to cover the arms and legs with melted marshmallow. And the reason we want to cover the arms and legs and across their torso and the top of the chest with melted marshmallow is because that's everywhere that I'm going to put the Rice Krispie treats, and this will help them just stick like glue. I'm even putting it to the bottom of the board here so I can stick it right to the bottom of that, because this board is going to be staying here, whereas the top board I'm going to take out so that I can later add the head to that one. So yeah, the reason I do the Rice Krispie treats is it's just really simple to get on, and we did not need a super large cake for this party because it wasn't going to be a really big party. It was just a big number party since it was the big 1-0. She had just turned 10, and so we only had a few guests, but we wanted to make it special. So we did the special cake, and that's why she picked this special character cake. But yeah, so we're just doing Rice Krispie treats for the arms and legs. The arms, I think you would want to do Rice Krispie treats anyway, but the legs you could actually use small cakes and make the legs if you wanted to do it that way instead. But I'm just getting this all completely covered with the melted marshmallow, and then we're going to go ahead and press in the Rice Krispie treats. And the ratio I use for this was I used a box, just the regular size box, not the family, of the Rice Krispie treats, and then I use a regular size bag, the 12-ounce bag of the mini marshmallows, and I melt that at 30-second intervals in the microwave, and then I add that melted marshmallow right to my Rice Krispie treats, and then about 4 ounces of candy melts, or you can get chocolate wafers and melt about 4 ounces of that and mix that in. And what that does is it really helps harden it up so that you can carve it later, and you'll really want to do that. And I should also note that I definitely, before I even put on the melted marshmallow, I put on my gloves, and I put on Crisco, some kind of shortening, lather my gloves with that, and that way everything is not sticking all over my gloves and giving me a hard time when I'm trying to stick it onto the structure and not onto me. So definitely a good thing to do. Lather up those gloves with some shortening before you do that. And as you can tell, I have mismatched gloves because there is never a matching pair around when I need it, right? It's like socks. You can never find a matching pair. Anyway, so here we are onto the arm. I'm just pressing it all in so that it's nice and firm. When we're all done with all the arms and legs, we're gonna wrap that with saran wrap and put it in the fridge, usually overnight, because I like to do this the day before. And then once we take it out, we can trim it down, and it's nice and firm. And we can trim it down to exactly the shape you want now. And so I'm using a large serrated knife I'm gonna trim the legs. I'm gonna trim some off the arm because she looks like she's got muscles. I mean, yes, she's gonna be wearing a sweatshirt, so it is bulkier, but not that bulky. So we're gonna trim that up too. Now I'm gonna remove the top piece, and I'm gonna have to wiggle it a bit to get that top piece off because I have those Rice Krispie treats, which is holding that nicely together, but also we're gonna have to pop it off so that I can put the cake in the middle section. So we're gonna set aside this top piece. Then I'm gonna line up my 3 cakes, 3 5-inch round cakes, and I'm gonna put a hole right through all 3 of them. And this is my apple core. I actually use it every time I want to hollow out a cupcake to put filling in or something. So it also works, it's the perfect size for this 1/2-inch PVC pipe. So I always use that for the middle. Now you notice my top piece is a lot skinnier than my first 2 cakes. That's just because I had to trim off the top after measuring to see how much PVC pipe I had to cover. And the top part I didn't really need as much, so I just trimmed the top cake to fit nicely. And I'm going to add a little bit of buttercream to the board first to help stick it in place, and then I'm going to have buttercream in between each layer of my cake. So I'm going to frost each layer and thread each cake layer through that, and then frost again, smooth it, and thread the next one through and stack it like that. Okay, and once we get all those in place, here comes a fun part. We're gonna put the arms on top. And so we need to line up that hole with exactly where the pipe is and fit it in, and then we're gonna need to press it in so it's nice and snug. Okay, so I could have gone just a hair shorter with the cake layer, so I did smush the buttercream so much, but it still works. I'm just gonna smooth out the buttercream that kind of bulges out there a little bit. But at least this way I know there's no gaps. Also, an important thing to note as I'm carving here, I'm going straight down with my serrated knife, is that all of my cakes, when I stack them, when I carve them, they are all well chilled. I take them right out of the fridge and I do it this way. And sometimes I even have them in the freezer for 30 seconds before I carve, because yeah, it'll be very crummy and hard to work with if they're room temperature. And so you really want to be able to have some firm cakes that you're working with here. I'm using a pastry bag to pipe on all my buttercream, and then I'm just gonna press it in with an offset spatula and then scrape it off with a flexible cake scraper. I love these plastic flexible cake scrapers because they really are able to go better with the curvature of something like this. Now I'm gonna cut off a little bit of one of my domes. I used a 6-inch Wilton cake pan to cook these in, to bake these in, and I'm going to cut just a little bit off the top and then measure and see how I'm gonna get this to fit completely flat with my 4-inch round board that I have. And as you know, the boards that I'm using are actually plaques because I just wanted something extra thick because I wanted overkill, but you really don't need to have as much overkill as I did. You really only need a wooden cake circle. As long as it's stiff and wooded and it will hold firmly your cakes, that's all you need. I covered mine in tin foil also for easy cleaning. And yeah, I actually wanted to flip it over so that the wider side is down and the more narrow end is what's going to go towards the neck of the figure. So I'm just gonna cut this to fit exactly on there. And once I get it where I want it to be, then I'm gonna put both domes together and put the hole in again with my apple core. I'm gonna line them both up and stick my apple core through them. And that way I know it'll be directly in the middle where I want that pipe to go through. As you can see, all the extra pieces of cake I'm putting in this bowl and I'm making into fine crumbs. Now, I don't think I have to say this for anybody, but since you're cake decorators, you already know this, that you're constantly washing your hands when decorating a cake. So that otherwise this would be really gross to stick your hands all over it when it's going to be on something that someone's eating. But yes, you're definitely going to get your hands in this one a lot. So frequent washing of hands, and even if you decide to wear gloves instead, you would probably be constantly changing your gloves because you're always touching something else other than the cake. So no matter what you do, yeah, you're going to be touching this cake a lot when you're sculpting. So I'm going to cut the front a little bit because I want the very front of the face to be a little more trimmed off, because this is going to be the bottom of the head here. So it's she's got more of a heart-shaped face, so I want to make sure that I trim off some of this before I get the other side on. And I'm gonna go ahead and put that buttercream in there before I put the other part on top, and then I'm gonna take that apple core and press it all the way through both layers of cake so that I know it's gonna fully line up with that PVC pipe. Then we're going to want to grab our cake board, and I'm going to place it on that before I start doing a lot of the carving here. I'm going to make sure I line that up right. The wider side is going to be next to the head, and then it's going to get more narrow as it goes down. But I'm going to add actually a little bit of buttercream here, because buttercream is a nice glue to help things stick a little better. So that'll help that cake board not slide around. And the more things that help not slide, the better. Now we're going to begin carving the ball to look more like a head shape than a ball shape. And I am keeping in mind that this is more of our cartoony type of face shape. So certain things are more emphasized. Like she's got the cartoon I'm doing with Penelope, she's got more of a heart-shaped face, who's got some really cute cheeks, but not much of a nose. So I'm not even going to add the nose when I do the sculpting. I'm just going to do a little dot in buttercream because she doesn't have much of a nose, but she's got quite the cute little apple blossom cheeks. So we're definitely going to add that when we do the adding part. But right now we're just taking off. So we're going to trim down, take off, and then we're going to add. Okay, once we get off enough, then we're going to take our bowl of excess crumbs and we're going to break that all apart until it's really got a bunch of fine crumbs. And basically what we're doing is we're making a mixture like a cake pop mixture. Like when you make a cake pop, you could also do this in your blender. You can just blend it with your blender and then add a little bit of buttercream and then keep blending. And that also gets you the same mixture, but your hands are going to be in this one way or another when you're adding it to the cake. So you're not going to avoid it. You are going to get messy. That's the nature of cake sculpting. And so I'm putting a little bit of buttercream in there, quite a dollop, to have it all stick together like the cake pops would. And some people bake cake pops in the oven, whereas others do this method for cake pops. And so this is the method that we're going to use for adding on. Now I've moved my cake skull onto a non-slip mat here. And I'm going to take that cake pop mixture and I'm going to press it in to form the chin and the cheeks and stuff. Now, as you know, we're always working with chilled cakes so that it's more firm. So that's what we did even before we even started carving. All my cakes were all chilled in the fridge before doing this. And yeah, I know I'm making worse of a mess than my kids were. But here we go. And now that it's all on there, we're gonna firmly press in a little more and form those the definition of the cheeks and stuff a little more. And like if you were doing a nose, you would make sure that you accent it and stuff now. And then when we're all done forming the shape of the face, we want to put it back in the fridge before we frost it to make sure that that part stays nice and firm before frosting. Now I've just taken a little mini cupcake that I had, and I'm just gonna cut a little piece off of that before using it as a hand. I'm gonna take a skewer and frost that and stick it right in. Now for our face, I'm gonna pipe on some buttercream just all around, and then I'm gonna smooth it around with my offset spatula and then pop it back in the fridge so that that firms up again before I pick it up and stick it on top, because you want it really firm before you do that. In fact, you know what, we're gonna stick it in the freezer for 30 minutes and then we're gonna pick it up and stick it on top, and then we can finally frost the face for the final layer. Make sure we smooth it out with our plastic scraper again, because it gets in those contours and you're able to more firmly get those contours the way that you want them. Now I'm just going to add some details by piping on with our slightly tan buttercream. We're going to pipe on for her hands and a little bit of her neck, and then once it's been 30 minutes in the freezer, we're going to take our head out of the freezer, and now we're going to kind of slide under. I have my offset spatula that I'm sliding under that board to kind of help bring it up a little bit before I get my fingers underneath it. And once I get my fingers under that board, it's fairly simple just to slide it right through the hole. And we're sliding that right through into the PVC pipe and going down just like that. Now, Vanellope Von Sweets, she's got this really thick ponytail going on here, so I'm going to add 45-degree piece right at the top, and then I'm going to put some cake pop material up there to make more of that thick ponytail. Then I'm going to take that tan peach colored buttercream, and I'm just going to pipe it all on her face, and then I'm going to smooth it over with the flexible plastic bench scraper again. Now, I told you you'd be washing your hands a lot in this, right? Here we go again. We wash our hands again, and now we're using some hot water in a bowl, and we're going to use that on the face to really smooth out this buttercream on the face, because we want to make sure that the buttercream is very smooth on the face, and the best way to do that is by dipping some hot water on our fingers and smoothing out that buttercream right there on the face. Now for the eyes, I'm not going to re-show you how I did these ice mold eyes because I did the exact same thing in my Yoda tutorial. I'm simply going to put a link down in the details if you want to see that tutorial if you haven't seen it already, to know how I did these ice mold eyes. They're Simi Cake's ice mold that I used, and she has these transfer sheets that have the icing image's eyes, so the whole thing is completely edible. And what I do is I put the clear ice malt in, and then I wait, and then I cut out the circle of the icing eyes, put that in, and then wait for it to completely cool, and then add the white ice malt. And when that cools, put a little ice malt on the end of my skewer and attach it to the eyeball so I have something for it to stick in, and I put them in the face at a slight angle so that they don't fall out. And then I just press it in after I have that little bit of fresh buttercream behind it, and that'll keep the eyes in place. Then I'm simply going to pipe around the eyes to add some eyelids and stuff with the buttercream that we've been using for the face and hands. And I'm just going to pipe around there and add those details, and then add on the little nose. Then I'm going to use white buttercream, and I'm actually going to pipe on the teeth first and then to pipe on the lips over the top of that. And as you can see, a lot of times ahead of time I will draw on either with my bench scraper or with a toothpick or something to see exactly where I'm going to put something before I start piping. Now as you can see, when I pipe on the eyebrows and the eyelashes, that we decided to go with brown for Vanellope's hair because brown matched my daughter's hair, so that's kind of what we were going for. But if you want to do it black, I just use super black with Americolor gel food coloring in your chocolate buttercream if you're going for chocolate like us chocolate lovers do. Yeah, and it dyes black really well, but we're gonna go for the brown this time, and we're just gonna pipe on those eyebrows, and then we're gonna pipe on some eyelashes. If you want to get even cooler and add some awesome 3D details, I am going to melt some chocolate. I just do mini chocolate chips. I melted it in the microwave, and then I'm going to put it in a piping bag and cut a little narrow tip off of it. And then I'm just going to pipe little lines, and I'm going to use these for the eyelashes, which was a lot of fun. So I'm going to pipe little lines on this piece of wax paper, and then I'm going to put that in this curved paper towel roll that I cut in half to give it a little bit of curvature, and we're just going to pop that straight in the fridge or freezer so that it gets done quicker. And then we're going to pick that up and place it right on her eyelashes so that they look even more 3D, and then just pipe over the top of that so that they stay there real good. And you're going to want to move fast because you don't want the eyelashes to melt as you're placing them. And then after we do the eyelashes, I'm going to add from the Sugar Art store this light pink diamond dust. I just want to add a little bit of glitter and a little bit of glow to her face. I'm going to take my little Wilton paintbrush. I'm going to dab it just on her nose. Then I'm going to dab it on her cheeks and a little bit on her lips. And now using the Wilton 233, we are going to start piping her hair. This is also known as the grass tip. So I'm going to pipe streaks right over the top so that it looks like hair. And And we're gonna just pipe out all her hair this way. Just kind of go in the direction that you think that you see hair in. That's basically what I was going for. Now I'm gonna use some Sweet Polita sprinkles. I love these. They add a little bling bling to everything. And as you might see, the character Vanellope Wand Sweet has some sprinkles in her hair that look almost identical to these Sweet Polita ones. These are the metallic ones. I believe these ones were called Pinball, this variety. And I'm just gonna place them right in her hair. Then I'm going to use a dark maroon colored buttercream with a star tip, and I'm going to pipe that around her hair as her ponytail holder, and it's basically supposed to look like a dark colored Twizzler. Basically, in the movie she has Twizzlers holding her hair together, but they're a darker color than red, kind of to go with her outfit, because she'll also, as we add details on her shirt, you'll notice that right here I'm using a writing tip for her strings from her hoodie. They're a darker maroon color that match her little Twizzler in her hair. Now we piped on the stripes already. For her tights, one goes one way and one goes straight across like Penelope's, and now we're going to add her boots with a large writing tip, and that is chocolate buttercream that I dyed black, and also I'm going to use the same color when I do her little black tutu, and we're just going to go around and pipe right over those Rice Krispie treats, and then we'll smooth it out again with our plastic bench scraper. I'm going to add a little bit of buttercream around her waist before I pipe the frills, because I want to make sure, because this is crusting buttercream, that it is still going to stick really well when I add the frills, so I want it to have something to stick to. So I'm going to go ahead, pipe on some buttercream, smooth it around, then I know that she's not going to lose her skirt halfway through the party. There it goes. No, we want it to stay in place when I do pipe on those frills. And yeah, fresh buttercream's the way to go. I'm using a 104 tip with the narrow end facing out, and it is one of those petal tips, so you can also use 124 if you wanted a larger ruffle, but we are doing 3 layers of this so that it's really frilly. We did it! Fist bump! Yeah! Oh, here's the bloopers. This is how you don't cut a cake. Yes, first of all, you have your serving pressure at the ready, and then you also need to cut all the way down. And that's why I picked the wrong location, because it was right where the hand was. So, she lost her face. But the kids loved it, so it was super entertaining. And if that wasn't enough, after we finished the face, I tried to get off the body, but I couldn't pull the thing off. So since the kids thought it was hilarious that the whole thing actually bends at the waist. Did you know that? Yeah, because of the PVC pipes, it'll bend. Unfortunately, it looked like it was pooping out Rice Krispie treats. Yeah, well, the poor thing, it was a disaster, but at least it was my daughter's birthday, and she thought it was hilarious, so enjoy. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe to my channel if you dare after that.